Good morning and hello, sunshines. Welcome to another episode of From the Ground Up, real time issues and real time solutions for MWBEs and small businesses, brought to you by Queen Strategy Partners. Nicole Valentine, Esquire, Danielle Douglas, and myself, Dr. Stacey N.C. Grant. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of the show, the series, the information. You know, we only bring the best of the best to come and share real time solutions for you as you navigate this new world we're living in. I wish we could say it was COVID free, but we are still dealing with the Rona Roman. So be safe out there and make sure you're taking good care of yourself so you can supply all of the great things that your business provides to the community. But you know, at this time, on the first and the third Tuesday of the month, I get to introduce the dynamic, the amazing, my dear, a wonderful sister and co host, Danielle Douglas. Over to you, Danielle.
And thank you, Miss Dr. Stacey and C. Grant. I love you immensely. So, with that said, we wanted to bring you a phenomenal guest to talk about a very important topic, and that is stress relief hacks for small business owners and their employees. We know, as Miss Stacey said, there is a lot going on. The sad thing is with stress, oftentimes we think we're managing it and we're not. And so we really wanted to do a show during Stress Awareness Month. Did you know that April is Stress Awareness Month? And we wanted to really highlight not only obviously that it is Stress Awareness Month, but some of the tools and resources that you can utilize to keep your stress at a minimum. And so, with that said, I would love to introduce Miss Cynthia Jefferson, our dynamic guest today. And Cynthia, if you could take a moment to introduce yourself. You've been a guest here before, but for those who didn't have an opportunity to attend the show when you were a guest before, we would love for you to introduce yourself and let them know who you are.
Well, thank you, Danielle, and thank you, Dr. Stacy. I truly appreciate your having me. My name is Cynthia Jefferson. My business is the Intentional Wellness Experience. I am a certified health coach, and I started my business with the intent of just focusing on wellness. I'd been with AARP for years, and the last, I guess, about 16 years actually, before I left. And the last 5 years of that was spent in the HR department, where I managed our wellness programs for our employees. So I love that so much. It was so rewarding. I learned so much. And, when I left AARP, it was just a space that I wanted to stay within. So having said that, my business, when I started out, I was planning on doing one-on-one health coaching and things of that, and wellness seminars. And while I still do a little bit of that, I have now moved my focus to wellness experiences. And my strategy is basically kind of working with small businesses. So, this is very much on top of things, but to work with small businesses that don't necessarily have wellness benefits built into their healthcare. So, what you have is like, so for instance, AARP is a huge company, or a large company, I should say, a huge membership, but large enough company as well. And we had wellness benefits baked into our health care. However, some small businesses, they're not even able to provide health care to their employees when they're that small. So what I would like to do, or what I do, is work with them to create some type of wellness activity anyway. It is a way to show your employees that we care about what matters to you. And even though we can't provide it through a health benefits, we can still provide some type of opportunity. What that looks like depends on the company. But we come together and partner, meaning myself or anyone I have to ask to help me create this situation. And we determine based on your employees what maybe the size of the company, or, what they have said are issues to them, whether it's the amount of time they have to work on a computer, or do they have to come in every day, or it just really depends. So it's a customized way in which to come together and provide a wellness opportunity. That can be done quarterly, that can be done once a year, whatever you come up with, whatever you can afford to do, we're going to make it happen.
Well, I love that. And before Danielle kicks us off with the first question, a couple of things. We said real-time issues and real-time solutions. Small businesses, hello, here's an expert that can help you customize something if you can't bake it in to your growing enterprise. But what I really want to say, Cynthia, as you talk about AARP, I used to remember that being for my parents and such. Why do I now have an AARP card?
Absolutely.
I knew you were going, Stacey.
We all do. And, I say, some people love to get that card, and other people are like, "Ooh, wait a minute now."
Yeah.
I mean, it's just such a reminder that, you've reached a certain age. So
you reached a certain age, and then you started a campaign, you being AARP, when you were with them. So it was a little younger than the 50 mark of being a member and getting the benefits. So I was just having a moment as you were talking and just expressing my transparency there on being associated with AARP. But I also want to let everyone that's viewing know that there's actually an organization that is focused on stress. April is Stress Awareness Month, as Danielle said. And I said, there's stress.org. There's an org for everything. You can't tell me you can't find a solution in 2002 by searching the internet and just using Google University. But while we're laughing, we do understand that stress is a real part of everyone's life in some way, especially throughout this pandemic. And this show was started to give solutions. As Danielle and I were talking about, well, what are we gonna do? This coronavirus is roaming. How do you still pivot? Which is how we started talking about what to do so that we can come out on top. And I'm so glad that you shared your background, Cynthia, because we are able now to share you with our audience and they can customize something for themselves. But Danielle's gonna kick us off with the first question. I just wanted to flag that resource and make sure that everybody goes to stress.org. Over to you, Danielle.
And Stacey, I've been waiting to say this. 50, 40 is really what? The new 50, or 50 is the new 40?
50 is new 40.
So, we got a couple more years. There's an optimistic way to look at this,
Absolutely. We're just getting better, not older. We're getting better.
Absolutely.
But with that said, and based on what you just shared with us, Cynthia, really, how can small business owners help their employees manage work-related stress as well as personal-related stress? Because we know the two mix. Oftentimes we bring home into our work environment and work environment home, especially now that so many people are working from home. So can you give us some tips on how small business owners can, help their employees manage stress?
Sure. So what I would say is it starts with being recognizing that work, it has always been a bit of a stressful situation. So an employer should try to figure out, how do I help minimize that, lessen it, basically. That's all they can do. So it is being or open to solutions such as what we have now. I mean, if nothing else, the pandemic has really helped employers see that we don't always have to be at the workplace to still function and be productive and provide good work. So it forced employers to do that, because you had a lot of employers, and some, I even experienced some of that at AARP. You had some departments who are allowed to work from home a couple of days a week, and you had other departments where the manager was like, oh yeah, can't go for that. So now they're forced to see that, just sometimes the stress of getting to your workplace is a factor in that overall feeling of just constantly running and needing to get someplace. So it is allowing your employees to have moments where maybe they don't have to come into the workplace. And again, so now what we have is people who are now having to figure out, okay, on the personal side, employer side, people personally have to now remember to separate work and their personal life, because now it's just all in one place for a lot of people. So the recommendations have been things like set up a specific place in which you are doing your work. And when work time is over, it's over. You have to really, really learn to, you're one person. So that's why the whole thing flows over into each other. You're one person, no matter what you want to say. So the ability to compartmentalize, it has to be intentional, setting up environments in which you have put work aside, you have set up a time for work, and you have set up a time in which you actually let go of work. And you let go of work intentionally, and you let go of work completely. Like the people who
completely,
when it's supposed to be your family time and your personal time, let it go.
Cynthia, you missed it completely.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Stacey and I are on the road today.
We're clouded because when you say completely, Cynthia, like
I know you two ladies don't.
Well, we do when we have to, but for small business owners, it's hard to completely let go. Like you'll stop working because your brain is always going. So I think we just need a little help. Well, let me raise my hand. I need a little help. Or completely, because my mind is always thinking. So it's like shutting off your mind. I would love, it's not a question we had planned to ask, but how do you shut down your mind? That's hard for a business owner because you're always thinking.
It is. So even if it's for an hour or two, if some people have to start small and like even if it's just for an hour or two, don't deal with business. Or certainly, let's just say an idea comes into your head. Don't act on it. Don't open up your phone and start, doing stuff with regards to it. Don't start emailing. Like really allow yourself time. And that completely, again, it can be for an hour if that's all you can afford. And that's all you feel comfortable with. But do allow yourself time in which, you're just, if you have family or other priorities or what's considered personal priorities, like you said, with a small business, a lot of people, that's their baby. So it's one in the same. It's one in the same. And what a small business owner will tell you is that it's more stressful for me not to deal with business. You know what I'm saying? It's I actually thrive on the constant attending to my business. But and all I can say for that is, everybody has to know themselves. Everybody has to be able to identify what is enough for them.
And that's fair. I was just joking a little bit because you do need to pull back. So the next question is what are the healthy tips around coping with stress? Because I find that when I do power down, it's been a learning process, Cynthia, because learning to relax was something that I had to do. It wasn't natural for me. Some people it's just easy to just relax, but Hallmark has been one of my pastimes when I unplug. So that's been one of my ways to watch a Hallmark movie and cry, even though I know the ending. So what are some ways that small business owners can really cope with stress on the serious side of it? Because it can manifest in your body and cause other complications because you know about wellness. So we would love to get some of those tips that we can implement now.
Yeah, no, stress, it's a saying, but it's so true. Stress will kill you. It absolutely will. It manifests itself in so many ways. So that's a wonderful question when you say, how do I do it? Because once upon a time, mistakenly, we said things like, oh, wellness is whatever makes you feel good. Clearly, that's not true, because there's some things that make you feel good that are not necessarily healthy. It may be overeating, eating food that's not good for you, alcohol, drugs. I am big on my glass of wine, but I can't let it get to be the thing, that where I can't stop reaching for that glass of wine. You understand what I'm saying? So wellness is creating a quality of life that will allow you to thrive and be healthy. And for me personally, like, one of the tips I like to put forth is moderation. Everything in moderation. I'm like, if you're not used to, I don't know, just totally turning away the things that you love, like maybe it's sweets, maybe it's chocolate. Don't go in the extreme of, oh, now I'm going to just totally eat healthy and feel good and stuff. You have to do what is sustainable. You understand what I'm saying? So whenever, it's like a diet or whatever the case may be, whenever you push yourself to an extreme that is totally not what you have been doing, you have to be realistic. It has to be sustainable. You have to set up an environment of change, if that is what, so that means, when I say that means setting up an environment where you're almost like cueing yourself, like you're going to cue yourself to, again, like, okay, let's just create, let's, for an instance, create an environment. I want to basically, what is the habit I want to change? I want to be able to stop working at a certain time. Or actually, this is a good one. I want to be able to write at a certain time, because writing may be something that helps me. It's a hobby of mine, or a hobby, whatever it is. You're going to identify a time of day when you can actually do that. And every day, even if you only do it for a minute, and this is what I'm saying as far as creating an environment and the habit of, even if it's only for a minute, you're going to commit to doing that thing at that time, so that eventually, whenever you're in that space at that time, it's going to become a habit. And then hopefully you're going to now spend more time each time you're doing that. Maybe now we're going to get 5 minutes in, but you're going to commit yourself to that time and that space, and doing the thing that you said you wanted to do to either be well or to grow, or whatever it is that you're trying to bring into your life as a good habit, a wellness habit, whatever that may be. So make sure it's not a space where you're going to be interrupted. If you have children and family, and you know that 6 o'clock in the evening, everybody's expecting you to do something or be somewhere, then that's not the time. Maybe it's in the morning before everybody gets up. Maybe it's during the day when they're away. But you have to identify a realistic time and space in which you're going to commit to doing what you said you're going to do, and then do it.
And that releases stress.
You know what came to my mind when you were speaking, Cynthia? Do you ladies remember the commercial of the mother in the bathroom, and the child is like knocking on the door, and she's
my life,
chocolate cookies, and she acts like she's the dad, and like, Mom is not in here. Like,
yeah, I remember doing some things like that, but my kids are a little smarter. But it's important. I love what that commercial was hilarious though, and I just relating to it because it's so true. Like, you just felt like you didn't have time when they were certain ages. Thank God my children are grown now, but even now, I just had one asking me for things. I'm like, what? Do I get a break? Like, is there some point where?
No.
Okay. So I managed the fact of not making that stressful, and just grateful that I have such wonderful children. But back to the examples, I love what you shared before Danielle comes in with another juicy question for you. just to recap, writing, that can be a stress reliever if it's something that someone likes to do, or creating I love what you said about creating the environment to do something that brings you joy. Ultimately, that reduces your stress. So if you like to do something and you carve out 5 minutes and increase that to 10 minutes and increase that to 15 minutes, then you really do create a habit. And then you've created this environment for stress relieving activity that's sustainable. I think that's key. I hope y'all writing this stuff down. Okay.
And again, and create rituals around that. Whatever triggers that, when I say create an environment, I mean, whatever you can bring to it that triggers, oh, this is my time to do such and such. I don't know if I personally, I love essential oils. So for me, sometimes aromas trigger my, okay, this is time to do such and such. Candles, whatever it may be, it just create something that's going to trigger for you your understanding of, oh, this is time for me to do such and such. Another thing is to, if you don't have a hobby, please do find one. Find something that is not work related, something that you may have always wanted to do, something you may have always wanted to learn, and see if you can find time for it.
So true. Well, this is interesting that we're talking about this because, every year I have a theme, a personal theme. And so this year it's been balance. And for those of us who are Libras, we got some Libras in the house here. It sometimes it can be a little easier because I shouldn't say easier, but we're always inherently striving for balance. And I had to really think about what does that mean for me? Because, we always hear work-life balance, but I think if you drill down a little more, it's about understanding what's important to you and making sure that you have a piece of that in your life so that you can feel your life is holistic and well balanced. It could be, having date night with your husband. It could be having movie night with the whole family. That you guys are just chilling and looking at a good Hallmark movie together. Whatever that is, it could be exercise. And so, that has helped me to create rituals and be a little more intentional, and I'm proud to say that even in the morning time, I've created a ritual where I literally say my prayers. And then after I finish with my prayers, I go downstairs, I cut up some garlic, and cut up a raw onion, have two pieces of fruit and wash my pieces of fruit. Then, and then I do my Qigong, if I can, I try to do my Qigong in the morning, at least 4 or 5 days a week. And so it's like even my morning ritual to say that will set the tone for my day. And it's, it's simple things like that, that I've tried to be intentional. And talking about stress, on the flip side of that, I check my high blood pressure every night, because I have high blood pressure. And, as we said, those of us who are in the AARP age, even when we think we're living healthy lifestyles and trying to eat right and exercise and keep stress at bay, we check our hypertension and it could be 150, 160. I have so many friends who are, suffering from high blood pressure, especially, African Americans. Yeah. So we have to keep that at bay. So it's like you said, Cynthia, it can manifest in multiple ways. And I'm constantly checking my high blood pressure. That's a ritual as well to see how I'm managing it and what I continuously need to do to get that where it needs to be. So
now, I'm just curious about something. When you say you constantly check it, are you anxious about when you check it? Or, I'm just curious as to how do you feel about having to constantly be on top of that? I'm not saying that you shouldn't be on top of it. I'm just curious, is that in and of itself, being concerned about it, is that in and of itself anxiety provoking? And that's just a curiosity.
That's interesting you say that. I think at times it can be anxiety provoking, but in all transparency, because I'm checking it to make sure it's consistently where it needs to be. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's back to the 150s and I'm like, what the heck? And
so
Mhm.
I just want to say it before I forget, because we are of that AARP age, and I will forget what I wanted to say. No, when you do check it, I want you to think back in your day and see if you can identify why it's out of whack. If you feel like you've been doing what you were supposed to do, because I know you are a healthy eater. So think back in your day to at least try to identify, well, have I been doing too much? Did I eat something that, maybe was high in salt, whatever created numbers that you were not anticipating? Just try to identify it so that, you can, be aware of it, and, not have it come knocking at your door, as a surprise anymore.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I saw something on Instagram. I'm paraphrasing. We try to have a Wasu moment. Sometimes you just want to let somebody have it. You just want to let it go. But I'm just saying that in a joking way. Well, half joking way. So, but yeah. So I just wanted to share, my ritual and
Yeah.
what I've been trying to do to manage stress and keep it at bay as much as possible.
And what you said was so important, just with regards to creating balance. What you said was you've identified ways in which you feel, rested, and you have rituals in and of themselves that, you can look to, and they start your day a certain way. Because the question of what is balance, it's different for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And when you say that you had to identify what that is for you, that I don't know if it was going to be a question, but you answered the question. You have to identify what that means for you. What do you value that brings peace or wellness, or a moment of just something good and not stressful? What's important to me, and how do I incorporate more of that into my life and make sure enough of it is there, as opposed to the things that are stressful.
Mm-hmm. And when taking it back to employees, right? Employers and employees, it's simple things like making sure, you take a walk, during your lunch break, not making sure, but you could it's a beautiful day. You could take a walk, get some fresh air. It could, being intentional about it, stopping to eat.
Mm-hmm.
So
Or hydrate.
again, you have to have an employer who is all for that, is cognizant of that. You have these employers who are considered the best employers. And why is that? Because they have incorporated a lot of that into the work culture.
Mm-hmm.
So they may have stand-up desk where they have all sorts of things in play. They have they've incorporated walking meetings. They make sure that their employees are taking those breaks. So the best employers are cognizant of, and again, all for making sure employees are doing those types of things, or let's just say they make them available. So, because you have employees, employers, I should say, who I don't want to shout anyone out, but our Amazon, oh my goodness gracious, they are known for, or it's said, I'm just going to say it's alleged, because I don't want Jeff Bezos coming after me, but it's alleged that these people are not getting the breaks that they need. For Amazon to do what it does, it's not providing their employees with the things that they need to feel well and feel like they're coming off that treadmill in their day. There's like nothing like that. So what the employer has to do is make that available.
I was just going to insert, as an employer, I am always going to institute power naps
Oh, see.
because power naps work for me. And even just, Danielle mentioned taking a walk, that can work. Sometimes you just need, for me, it's a 20-minute, can't be 21 or 22 minutes. Just a 20-minute power nap can refresh and get you started. So I'm bringing back the kindergarten norms where you took a nap. So a power nap during the day, if it's going to make you more productive and give you a chance to just woosah and exhale, I think that would be lovely. But as you were talking, that came up for me. Sorry, Danielle. I know you had another question.
No, that's okay. And you know what the thing is? Some of the things that we're talking about, again, to take it full circle as small business owners, it does not always have to be like extravagant. It's the simple things. It's like you said, creating a culture that there's a room that you could go in and, chill. Because I don't know if that's realistic. Sometimes, small business owners, depending upon their office space and things, that may not be possible. But the point is that you can introduce things and integrate it in your culture, like people feeling like they implicitly have permission to take lunch.
Exactly. No, seriously, it starts with the culture, and it starts with seeing the top person modeling that. So once upon a time, our CEO used to be, when I was at AARP, we had a CEO who was always in the gym. So he modeled in our little company gym. So people felt like, oh, wow, if the CEO is doing it, then this must be something I need to be doing. I mean, honestly, it really, they have to model. And as you said, there has to be the implication that this is okay. In another lifetime, I have worked at a job where, okay, in the 8-hour day, I had half-hour lunch and no breaks. And the model of the, and it was a small, it wasn't actually a small company, but the offices were small. So they were a national company, but the office is small, and they needed people at the front desk or whatever the case may be. But everybody was always working. Like, everybody was always bringing their food back to the desk. Like, there was no understanding of, when am I going to take a breather? Because the culture said we need to always be attending to our client. So it has to be modeled, and it really does have to be a part of the culture that lets you know that it's okay, that we support this, and we have put in place these things for you.
So what would you say is the, because we're talking about inexpensive things that could be done, integrating things into the culture. So if, we've been having this great conversation, but if there was like 5 things that are easy and simple, does not require a lot of expense to the bottom line, but can make a difference and have the impact for the small business owner, and just as importantly, the employees of that business, what would you recommend?
5 things. Well,
I know that's a lot of, it doesn't have to be 5, but I was just,
Well, one thing that people love is a challenge. I mean, if TikTok told you anything, employees love a challenge. It could be some eating well challenge with a $25 incentive. If you win something, that's cheap. And first of all, you get the bragging rights of winning, and the incentive is a very inexpensive thing. But really, what they love is the winning. So let's just say you did something like a walking challenge or whatever have you. Who racked up in a week the most points? So through our phone, through our Fitbit, there is some way in which everybody is going to have an opportunity to track their steps, let's just say. So a little challenge is something great. Something like a blood drive. You can have a sponsored blood drive, or sponsor having like a little a wellness truck come to the employee, or an opportunity to get your numbers checked at the office, because a lot of people don't have time to go do this, that, or the other. They didn't, they're like, okay, I'm gonna get to the doctor when I can. But if you have, it's really not that expensive.
Really?
You can have, no, yeah, it's not. You can actually have like Walgreens used to do it. I'm not sure if they still do it anymore, but you basically have the people come to the office and check your numbers. They'll be able to check your blood pressure. They may be able to check cholesterol or whatever the case may be. And so you provide an opportunity like that. Let me see what else.
And that's important. You know why? Because so many people have high blood pressure and they're not even aware of it. Because you could have high blood pressure and not feel any symptoms from having high blood pressure. And it's
true. That's why they call it a silent killer.
Yeah.
Sure. So if you just sponsor a day, like a couple of hours in which, again, it depends on the size of the company, but if you just have somebody come in, let's just say you only have 10 employees. If you have someone come in, it is not going to cost you that much to have someone come in for an hour or two and check everybody's numbers.
Wow, that's a great one. But keep going. I was getting my pen and taking some notes.
So let me tell you the challenge. You can get and I don't know how, I would say this is not that expensive either. So some of these apps that like Calm or meditative apps and whatnot, for a prescription on some of those things, it's like, could be like $50 or whatever case. That may be a lot of money to some people, but for a year of an opportunity to just tune into people helping you with meditation or affirmations or breathing. So a lot of these companies have what it is group rates, or whatever the case may be. Your employer can look into what that would cost for them to take on that cost for more people, because for more people, it's going to be less than the individual trying to do it. So providing your employee with a prescription to something like that, to a Calm, or it's like there's just tons of these just different apps and whatnot. They have helped so many people. I just cannot tell you. And it's not that expensive. Again, $50 may be expensive for one person. But if your employer takes on that cost, usually they can afford something like that. And it's probably not going to cost them that $50 if they do it for a group of people.
Absolutely. And there are some trials, because the Calm, even on your Apple Watch, it will stop you and say, breathe. It's time for you to take a deep breath. It'll stop you and say, it's time to move and get up and walk. So I do appreciate it. And that's not an extra subscription. That's if you have the health app, which everyone gets on the watch. So if we're going to have all of these fancy devices, let's use them properly. And of course, you can upgrade to the subscriptions, as you mentioned, but those were great tips. Daniel, this is good.
And one more, I will say, employers need to address mental health in some capacity. Stress is physiological, but it also has it can manifest itself in ways that will eventually tap in to your mental health as well. And those aside, honestly, however they do it, an employer needs to have some way in which they've said, okay, we know that mental health is important, and they look into ways in which they want to try to address it. Now, Calm is one of those ways in which it made me think of mental health and so forth. But there are other ways in which they may have baked into their benefit. What is it a day? A wellness day, just a paid day in which somebody can tap out figure out how to make that happen. Like I need a what they call a mental health break day or whatever the case may be. Like make that available. Like just and make sure it's understood that it's okay. We support.
What about in the summertime where, again, I don't know how practical this is, and it depends on how many employees, a business owner has. And I'm saying practical for a small business owner, but for the summertime, we're about to ease into the summertime and giving people even half day Fridays or giving them Fridays off from, July 5th to Labor Day, or, July 4th, July 5th, but July 4th to Labor Day weekend, giving them maybe, Fridays off or a half day,
All
so
of
that
it.
kind of bakes into what you were saying with the mental health day, because I know a lot of companies, they do that.
Anything that the employee would appreciate as a way, and a good thing to start with is a survey. Survey your employees as to what does balance look like for them. Like what can I do? Ask the question, and make sure you ask the question with the intent of actually trying to do what you can with regards to the response. But seriously, start with what can I do to create more balance, if it's at all possible. I'm starting with the question. You can what is the word? Preface it with saying, I may not be able to do everything that you all are asking for, but I'm really interested in what ways would help you create a work-life balance, and start the conversation, and then actually take from those responses that which you can actually do. That's a good employer.
Cynthia and Stacy, if you have let's say less than 5 employees, and you do a survey like that, you could customize, as you say you do, Cynthia. The business owner could customize to give something to each of those employees. So if one said they want to start exercising, that would make a difference. They want to lose weight, blah, blah. Well, give them a gym membership for a year. If somebody else says, they like, so you could actually not even do a program, but you can literally do something that each of those individual employees said that is very important to them. You can't do that if after a certain, level, you got like 10, 15, 20, you can't do that. But if you have a small environment where you have 5 employees or less, I would love that. If my employer asked me that and did a survey and I checked off and they were like, boom, here.
Yeah, it's so individual. It depends on the pockets of the business. It depends on all of that. But to me, it needs to start with curiosity and the desire to know how to be a better employer in this area.
I love this. And what Danielle said about the customization, I think is great as a business is growing, because you might not have an HR director initially, but as you grow to have one, you can make sure that that is a part of the intake, so that as an owner, you know what your employee needs. It might be the gym membership. It could be a subscription to one of those companies that give you the ingredients for meals. I'm purposely not naming a company because they're not sponsoring the show, but so there are things we can do like that. For other people, it might be getting a babysitter for kids or extended childcare. For others, it might be care for an elder parent. So I love this whole idea. That's why they need to hire you, Cynthia. The whole idea of what you can do to customize a stress-less workplace for your employees, and looking at, I don't have to be as big as ARP. We'll just keep naming them because they do sponsor one of my events, so I'll name them. But
nice.
But nice. I think it's important for us to not make it a heavy, hard lift. Like, you've just given us some real practical things that as small business owners, you can incorporate on a small scale And then you can also advance it to a larger opportunity when you have a full-fledged HR department that's working on the needs of everyone there. This was good. I tell you, real-time issues and real-time solutions. We told you we'd get you the hacks on stress relief. We have a few more to go before we wrap up. We're going to get all the good information from Cynthia. And then, Cynthia, can we pause for a moment for you to tell our audience how they can contact you? Because folks want to know, how can we get in touch with Miss Cynthia Jefferson?
Oh, well, please do. You can you can email me at info@iwellforlife.com. And my website is www.iwell4life.com.
Okay, I'll see if I can get that in the chat for you. So info@ the letter I,
Well,
the number 4,
life.
Okay, so I did the sound out with everyone, and I'm putting it in the chat. Let me see if I can get it in there in our
yes, that's
on the screen so that you all can see it and be able to have it. But thank you for sharing that, and we'll make sure that our audience gets it. iwellforlife.com.
Yes, that is what we are striving to be. Well for life.
That's right. I love it. All right, Daniel, I don't know where the time goes. We have such a good time being able to share all this content, but we do have 1 or 2 other questions that we might just truncate together so that you can give us some more tips.
Well, I would say the last question is, are there any resources for folks that you know of that they could take advantage of? I know we've been throwing out like Calm and things like that, but if there's any resources, even mental health, that because we didn't really touch, we touched a little bit about mental health, but if there's any resources that especially as it relates to mental health, that you think folks should know about, and they feel is a safe space, because oftentimes we don't want to go to those that are close to us and let them know what we're going through. Oftentimes so many, I shouldn't say, but the incidence of suicide it feels like it's increased tremendously. And so often people said we had no idea. And that's because people really suffer in silence because they don't really necessarily feel comfortable letting those who care most about them know how much in pain they are. And so there has to be some safe spaces that they know they could go to without judgment. And they could feel like they could really share, and be transparent. So I don't know if you know of any resources.
So yeah, resources are so specific at this. They're very specific. So I don't really have any large overarching resources. I do a lot of reading, like so drruckers.com. I mean, and I think that's his name, but what I will do is I'm going to send that to you. And if you all have a space in which you all can share it at another time, because again, being of that age, I don't remember the name of a doggone thing. Sometimes I really don't. I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. I had my girlfriend dying one day because we couldn't get through a conversation without, it was like, the name of, it was just ridiculous. It was but Dr. Ruckers, he is a holistic, it's a holistic website, and the information is so thorough. And I mean, you can just go into link heaven, because everything you're reading, it then takes you to another link in which you're reading another whole understanding of the issue that you started with. Anyway, it just takes you down the road. So that's one I really do enjoy. Yeah, I would like, and when support is going to be specific to what it is you're having an issue with. So there are tons of support groups out there. It just depends on what you're looking for support for. So, I mean, the suicide hotline it's just a nationally known place to start as far as a crisis. But before you let it get to be a crisis, Google your, Google what's going on. So let's just say you're experiencing what, like sadness or depression, something of that nature. Is that what you're referring to?
Well, I mean, that is one of the most common things, especially as it connects to stress, but I wasn't thinking of anything specific.
Okay.
But we know that depression is one of the most common forms of mental,
Yeah.
And there are a couple of websites as well. New York City has New York City Well. New York State has its site. I just shared BetterHelp. No affiliation with anything that we have, but they do have resources as well. And to your point, Google University has quite a bit that can be searched. The goal and the prayer is that you don't suffer in silence. Wherever you are, whatever you're going through, that you reach out to someone to get a referral for help. There's no judgment in it. It's okay not to be okay. What's not okay is for you to stay like that by yourself. Get the help and the resources that can move you to a better and more positive space. Let's face it, COVID has changed life, and nothing will be the same as it was prior to this global pandemic. And everybody's dealing with it differently. And there are all sorts of effects that are still being studied. The data on where we are in this post, quote unquote, COVID is still unfolding. And as business owners, we have to be cognizant of how we address the issues so that we can not only be here to supply our services and our products, but take care of our staff and our team and model behavior that'll work. So I'll go back to sharing stress.org because they do have some links that can take you to some additional resources as well that can help you to deal. And they have posts and information that can help you combat stress. And there's no fee for it. You can just subscribe and get the information. And if you are a small business owner and you want a customized plan of how to implement some of the real-time solutions that our guest Cynthia Jefferson just gave, you're going to go ahead and email her at info@4 and life.com so that she can customize where you are and what you need to keep you well and productive when we're all cash flow positive. It makes the whole world better and safer. So we want everybody to get the money, get the shmoney, as they say, and be happy while doing it and create an environment that everyone working with you can enjoy. Oh my goodness, this was so good. So before I turn it over to the wonderful Danielle Douglas for final remarks, anything you want to share, Cynthia, in closing, as we have had quite a robust discussion today?
Yeah, no, this is, you all are providing such a wonderful opportunity. I mean, this in and of itself is a resource. And just, I love what do you call it? Google University. Seriously, there's so many things out there. That's why it's like resource. Well, it depends on what you're looking for. So just starting the steps of trying to, look into what you're curious about. What's bothering you? Just start Googling it. Sometimes, just researching it will take you down a path of discovery that, will get you to a better place. If that's not working, though, do not forget about the crisis hotline. Like if things have gotten to a place where it's bad, then you're going to have to find a crisis hotline, so that somebody can direct you to, a doctor or a resource or just someone to talk to as a lifeline for that moment. But this type of discussion that we're having right now, we're just trying to avoid getting to that place anyway. We're trying to figure out what we can proactively do to, just create a good, happy space. And, again, I have never been shy. I have 2 kids who, like you, still constantly need me or need something that I may not have, whatever the case may be. But even when they were small, I never hesitated to take that time for myself, because it's just like the old adage with the putting on the life, the mask. If the plant, you have to feed yourself before you can help somebody else. You have to make sure that you are doing what you need to do to be well, to show up in anybody else's life well. And that's whether it's your employer, your family, whomever. Do not be shy. Do not look at it as selfish. It's not selfish to take care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself. Otherwise, you're not going to be around. I mean, the silent killers we talked about. So this is a wonderful resource. And I just implore everybody to, figure out what they need to do to create a good space for themselves where they are taking those deep breaths. And like we said earlier, just identify, what does that look like for you? What does balance look like for you? What does rest look like for you? What does respite look like for you? Just you have to identify those things so that you can bring them into your life in some capacity.
Awesome. Well, let me give you a round of applause before Daniel.
Wait, I got to tell you all, this is the funniest thing. I went to a row class today, and I can't get to row, so I've canceled the subscription for it. But come to find out today, when I came in, they were like, "Oh, Cynthia, you're only 4,000 meters away from 50,000 meters." And if I get to it, I get a picture in front of the with my row, and I get a T-shirt. I was like, all right. So I mean, it's just like stuff like that. I was like, it just made me so happy, because it's so much better to earn that shirt through my efforts, instead of buying it, since I wasn't going to be going too much any longer. Actually, I only have one more session. I was going to buy a shirt, but to have earned the shirt and reach that 50,000, I am just like,
and you'll be healthy, and the whole point is to be healthier too, right?
It is. And I mean, rowing, it was interesting. It puts you in, I'm a runner by nature. I have to be outside. So anything that keeps me inside, after a while, I'm like, okay, got to stop this. But you just never know what's going to do it for you. It was such a little like high today. So when I did this, I was like, oh, I forgot about that. I earned that today. I'm going to send you all the picture. Y'all can.
Okay. Well, congratulations. I love it.
Thank you.
Oh, yes.
And so with that said, the time has flown by, folks. And we just hope Miss Dr. Stacey NC Grant and I, as we always say, that we provided today some real-time solutions with some real-time issues. As we always say, we'll be here. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. But until then, make it happen. And guess what? Take a moment to exhale. You deserve it. It's okay. See you soon.